Yes, team. Welcome to another episode of the Jake O'Connor, the High Functioning Addiction podcast. And today I thought it would be relevant to jump on, as last week was Men's Mental Health Awareness Week. And I wanted to share a little bit more about my story and my background for anyone that may be struggling or potentially going through a difficult period in their life. So 3 years ago, I was addicted, anxious, and I didn't even actually really want to be here anymore. I was at the low of the low, and this looked like not sleeping very well, not training, not having good connections and good friendship groups around me, but I simply couldn't stop. I just didn't know who I was, and that was really painful. It hurt. But now I live a life that I never thought was possible, and I want to show you how I got here, because you can too. So I want to rewind to kind of where I was and the depths of my addiction. It all started, through college and stuff like that, I was taking drugs, but it wasn't really ever that bad until I had a breakup. But even before the breakup, I was still taking substances. I was going to football. I was partying. I was still taking cocaine and ketamine and drinking. But the difference is, when I had the breakup, I used the drugs, the alcohol, to essentially numb everything that was going on. And I was chasing highs every weekend for a good few years. This looked like going out, going around friends' houses until 3, 4, 5 in the morning, having zero energy, motivation, essentially just wanting to give it all in, and essentially wanted to give it all up. And the thing is, I didn't really see it as a problem then, because I was in denial. I didn't want to stop. And as I'm sure many of you are aware, that when you don't want to stop, you kind of turn a blind eye to the problem. But I started to see it was a problem when I used to sort the drugs before I even left the house to go out. My brain instantly went to, I'm going to the pub. That means 3 for 100. That means ket. That means whatever. And I was in that loop constantly of working a job that I hated. I was doing carpentry at the time that I was terrible at and I really disliked. I was taking drugs 3, 4 days a week, sometimes more. And I was in this constant state of anxious, overwhelmed, stress, worrying about where my money's going to come from to pay the bills and to pay the drugs, actually. And I was pretending I had it all together. I was pretending I was okay. On the outside, I was the happy lad that went to the pub and I was merry and all of this. But inside, I was broken. I would get home, I'd take off the mask and I would cry. I would be sad. I would be anxious. I would be thinking, surely there is more to life than this. And I lived this life on a cycle, week after week after week after week. And it was painful. It hurt. And it was only looking back that I actually saw the depths that I was in. There were some times where I would just simply sit in the bath and just cry and cry and cry. And to think about a young lad going through difficulty like that makes me upset, to be honest. I want to put my arm around him and tell him, Jake, you're going to be all right, mate. I just simply didn't know how to stop. I won't go too much into my story, but a lot of you know that I was at a festival in Croatia in Hideout and I was taking drugs every day, and I just had an epiphany. I just felt like there got to be more to life than this, surely. So I came home, booked a one-way flight to Southeast Asia, went to Bali, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and essentially used it as a reset. But I came home after 4 months from traveling, and I still ended up going to the pub when I landed and getting on it. So it was proof that actually the substances or the environment wasn't actually the issue here. It was me, because I left the environment, I came home, and I was still doing it. So I was the problem. And one day it just clicked that I needed to reach out and get professional help. I was doing a lot of, not research, but I was listening to a lot of podcasts while I was away traveling, and I started to kind of get a deeper understanding of actually there may be something wrong here. this isn't actually normal. I said to my online fitness coach, hey, do you know anyone that, like a mindset coach or anything like that? He pointed me in the direction of my cognitive hypnotherapist that I was working with for over 2 years. And the rest is history. So I actually learned that my past was running the show, that my subconscious mind was running the show here. And it was only until I trained my mind that my addiction started to break. Because here's the thing, the addiction isn't the problem. It's a solution to the problem. The problem itself is actually the discomfort one is trying to avoid. So whether that be difficult emotions, past experiences, thoughts, feelings, whatever that looks like for the individual, that's the problem here. That's the thing that is fueling the addiction. So I essentially started to rewire it. And I basically used my own 3-step system. Well, I went through a process, and through introspection and through reflection afterwards, I kind of broke it down. Right, what did we do here? What did we do here? And what did we do here? And now I'm over 2.5 years sober. And I essentially created a program that I essentially went through. Like, I looked back and I said, right, what did we do here? Blah, blah, blah. And I sat down and I created a program that essentially kind of mirrors it a little bit. And I have used that myself to gain over 2.5 years sobriety, but I also use it for tens of my clients that also gain hundreds upon hundreds of days sobriety. And all the people in my program are making some huge progress. So the 3-step process is simple. The first phase is the subconscious reprogramming system. So this is all about rewiring the subconscious mind to clear the negative emotions or the feelings or the thoughts that are fueling this addiction. Because like I said earlier, the addiction isn't the problem, it's a solution to the problem. The problem itself is actually the discomfort that one is trying to avoid. So my job as a coach and a hypnotherapist is to get to the root cause of this and actually understand, like, what is happening here and how can we work through that to ensure that this is a long-lasting change. During this process as well, rewire the subconscious mind. So instead of basically when an addiction is taking place, the addicted mind goes to the reward of the drug rather than the consequence. So for example, whenever someone takes cocaine or alcohol, they don't think about the guilt or the tiredness or the lack of motivation they're going to feel afterwards. They think about the reward, the buzz it's going to give them, the numbness it's going to give them, the escape it's going to give them, like whatever that looks like. So my job is to essentially rewire the subconscious mind. So you start to think about the consequence, i.e. the guilt, the shame, or whatever it is that you experience afterwards, over the reward, the escape, the release, or whatever that looks like. So that's the first phase. The second phase is the mindful living system. So this is all about building a new life, creating a solid structure that allows you to start moving in the right direction. Because I know what it's like when you go through an addiction. It can be tough. And sometimes I see this with business owners and high performers as well, is that they actually lose sight of themselves sometimes, working so hard or being so deep into an addiction that actually they are unsure of the daily non-negotiables that need to get done in order to live a solid personal life as well as a professional life. That's the important here, because most high performers know what to do in the business, but when they leave the office, that's when things start to get difficult and maybe fall back into old patterns because they're unsure of what to do in their spare time, essentially. I learned to feel again. I learned to have a purpose and have clarity rather than escaping. That was the important part. And the third phase is the future vision blueprint. So this is all about designing a life of your dreams. Like, now you've broke free from this addiction or this addictive behavior. What does life look like now? Like, you're working so hard every day, but what are you working towards? Do you want to go traveling? Do you want to buy a house? Do you want to set up your own business? Do you want to treble your business? Like, whatever that looks like for the individual, that's different for everyone. But again, when you're so deep in the trenches and you're unsure, or you're actually unsure that you've got a problem, most of the time, the people that I work with don't actually have a future plan, because they're so stuck in the day-to-day tasks that actually to even think 6, 12, 18 months ahead is extremely difficult. So that's exactly why I've built my program, because this exact process has changed my life. And with it being Men's Mental Health Awareness Week last week, I wanted to jump on and just explain and share my story, because I am living proof that if you are in the depths of an addiction, if you are simply struggling but not sure why, if you're anxious, if you're sad, if you're overwhelmed, if you have no money, if you have loads of money but don't know what to do with it, if you cry every night, like whatever that looks like for the individual, I want you to know that you can change this. You can change your life for the better. If I can, you can too. So I wanted to jump on today and just share this, because I don't know who needs to hear this. But if you do, I promise you that you will make it through this, and this too shall pass. So if you're done with feeling numb, if you're ready to build a life that is yours, not a perfect life, but a real one, a real life that you actually adore, like I do. I get to work with amazing people every single day. I get to go under the hood of their psychology. I get to go into their mind and actually understand like what they're thinking and their thought patterns and their emotions, and really get intricate. And I absolutely adore it. I get to travel the world freely, working on a laptop. And I truly live a life of abundance, and I absolutely love it. So again, this is proof that if I can, you can too. So if you want to build a real life, not a perfect life, but a real life, then I want you to message me on Instagram at the Jake O'Connor _, or drop me a message on LinkedIn, Jake O'Connor, or go on my website, www.thejakeoconnor.com, and hit contact me. And I want to hear from you. If you're struggling, I want to hear from you. If this landed for you, I want to hear from you. If you simply don't know what to say but want to just chat, I want to hear from you. So your future is waiting. It starts now. So that's it for today, guys. This was a short, sweet solo episode. And like I said, I don't know who needs to hear it, but hopefully they do. And feel free to pass it on to friends, family that need to hear this. And also feel free to share it on your social media, on your story, whatever you got to do. Tag me and I'll also repost it. And infinite love to your corner of the world. And just remember, this too shall pass.